You're funny, man. I know it's going to come back.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, those are
Good
really
morning
impressive.
and welcome to the Joseph Apartments Talk Show. Yes, Phil?
Those are impressive flags back there.
Thank you. Welcome, and I just want to introduce today's guests. We're going to start with Jim Gilb. Jim and I go way back. Jim handles apartments, not in my marketplace, but west of us in the West LA area. Jim, what's going on in the market that you see? I mean, right now we're in the end of March, beginning of April. What do you see going on? And then the second question is, you've been living with rent control and government regulations a lot more than we have. So take it away. Tell us what you know about the market.
Oh, big question.
That's a huge
lot
question.
a lot to digest there. I think the West LA market is probably as strong as any in the country. Probably, maybe slightly above here in the Whittier, Downey, La Mirada market. There is a supply constraint there in West LA that may not exist here as much. Maybe it does. You please correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
And we, we're basically in the business of helping people build wealth and manage their transactions. Essentially, that's what we do. And I think one of the reasons I've kept in touch with you as long as I have is I think you do a very similar thing. Secondly, in terms of the rent control question. Yeah, we've lived with the rent stabilization ordinance, in the market that I operate in, and we've learned to deal with it. I will say, for me personally, I have a much easier ability to get behind a property with low rents than I do a market multiplier at market rents. So that's something that you have learned to adapt to in your marketplace, and for me. We've been able to sell that upside throughout my entire career. We've always been selling the upside. So investors in our market love to buy buildings with low rents. They just love to buy buildings with low rents because they know that over time they will eventually catch up with what the rental market is
Even though
doing.
they're constrained to do it in one shot.
Yes. One of the best lines that the founder of the company I worked for many years said was buying an apartment building, buying up at a high price or making a bad deal on an apartment building is sort of like getting a bad haircut. Okay, you made a bad purchase, but eventually the hair grows out and the rents catch up and the market catches
How
up.
do people get a hold of you, Jim?
I'm at Lee & Associates, and my number is 310-592-7067. My office is in the Eagle Rock area, so we're basically in the eastern part of Los Angeles, but work mid-city markets. And,
What's your email?
jim.gilb@lee-associates.com.
Thank you, Jim. Speaking of bad haircuts, Phil Atwan, what is going on in the exchange world and the marketplace? There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on as far as money moving out of the state, new laws that didn't happen. Give us an update, Phil.
Well, we're just finding investors, regardless of what's happening nationally, are just very frustrated in the state of California at this point. The laws are protecting, the tenants far more than it is the actual landlord, and a lot of them are frustrated. They can't get rid of deadbeat tenants who are obviously abusing their privileges, and they can't move them out. So basically, they're getting less and less rent off their doors. So what they've been doing is they've been taking their properties, listing them and selling them, and going to other places like Florida, Tennessee, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, Idaho for sure. Periodically, you'll see one in Oregon or Washington or Montana even. Those are the hubs. There are some markets that are emerging right now, like are really going up, like in the state of Ohio, for example. There's a lot of movement there. So the bottom line is they're looking for a place of refuge where the laws are a little bit more on the balance side as opposed to one side or the other side. So that's what they're seeking out, and they're just very frustrated.
Anything new with the exchange laws?
Well, it's sitting with the House right now. The
So our worst fears haven't come true. correct?
They haven't come true, but we're not out of the forest yet. So we're still inviting all of you to go to www.1031taxreform.com and just hit the take action button and hit your, you'll just type your name in, your address. It'll give you your state's, our senators, which by the way are Senator Alex Padilla and Senator Dianne Feinstein. In fact, I noticed yesterday he sent out a big blast because I'm on his mailing list. And he has now coming up with a new program, though he never gives you details, it's all fluff. It seems like when you read his stuff, after you read it, you say, what did he write? Anyway, he wants to do more new homes for people who can't afford them and the homeless. So I guess my question is, haven't we tried this like a lot of times?
That's Alex Padilla.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so
How do we get hold of you?
213-479-8800 or philatwan@gmail.com. And Atwan is ATWAN.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Zeus's father, Dean, going to tell us what's going on in the credit industry and an overall picture of credit, as well as how to improve individual credit.
Yes, well, good morning, Jim. Thanks for having me. My name's Dean Tapie, and I'm the Vice President of Pacific West Credit. We are a licensed credit repair company, and as Jim said, that tenants abuse their privileges. Well, when their score goes down, landlords are being super sensitive with credit. And I had one client get in our program. She offered to pay the landlord 6 months in rent in advance. She had a low credit score, and they still turned her down. So with everything that's going on, credit is being super sensitive. A consultation with my company, Catherine or I, is always free. And sometimes we can just help somebody improve their credit just by doing a phone call. The FICO model's kind of a racket, and I seem to have kind of figured it out somewhat, so I'm here to help. You can always call me or email me at this number, dean@pacificwestcredit.com. My cell number is 714-323-5538. Thank you.
You know, if you have a tenant that has bad credit, instead of rejecting them, you can send them to Dean and he can fix them up and then send them back to you. So, next we have Robert from Cherry Hill Mortgage. Robert, what is going on? I hear that rates went up a half a point just the other day, and then since January, a full point. Do I have that right?
Yeah, more than a whole point. Yeah, Robert Jimenez with Cherry Creek Mortgage, and I run an office in Brea, and rates in the last 2 months have just, it straight up, upper threes, lower fours are pretty much out the door. Conventional rates are getting right around 4.5, and depending on FICO score and how much money you put down. But one of the biggest things that I see in our market right now is that if you're a buyer and you're looking to get out and submit an offer, it's important that you get with a loan officer, get pre-qualified, and like in our case, what we do is we take it a step further and we actually submit the loan to an underwriter, get it fully approved, so that way when you do submit an offer, you have it's almost same as cash. Pretty much all we need is an appraisal, and it's an accepted offer, and we'll get it done. So it's important. You do that ahead of time.
So the good news is rates are, the good news is there's still money. The bad news is rates are up, huh?
They're up a bit, but it's when I bought a house in '97, rates were 7.75. My parents bought a house when it was at 18%. So money's still cheap. 4%.
I'm in your parents' category of 18%. How do we get a hold of you?
It's Robert Jimenez, Cherry Creek Mortgage. I work in Brea. Number 714-720-8092, and my email address is my name, so Robert@RobertJimenezTeam.com. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thanks for watching. See you next month.